Okay, so I was reading in Zechariah earlier this week, and it occurred to me that it's actually talking about right now. So let's start in chapter 1, and we'll read 1 through 12. In the 8th new month of the 2nd year of Darawesh, the word of Yahuwah came to Zechariah, son of Berechiah, son of Iddo the prophet, saying, Yahuwah was very wroth with your fathers, and you shall say to them, Thus saith Yahuwah Zebaoth, Turn back to me, declares Yahuwah Zebaoth, and I shall turn back to you, declares Yahuwah Zebaoth. Do not be like your fathers, to whom the former prophets proclaimed, saying, Thus said Yahuwah Zebaoth, Turn back now from your evil ways and your evil deeds. But they did not obey or give heed to me, declares Yahuwah. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my laws, which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not overtake your fathers? Then they turned back and said, As Yahuwah of Zebaoth planned to do to us according to our ways and according to our deeds, so he has done with us. On the 24th day of the 11th month, which is the new month Shabbat, in the 2nd year of Darawesh, the word of Yahuwah came to Zechariah, son of Berechiah, son of Iddo the prophet, saying, I looked at night and saw a man riding on a red horse, and he was standing among the myrtle trees in the shade. And behind him were horses, red, sorrel, and white. And I said, My master, what are these? And the messenger who was speaking to me said to me, Let me show you what they are. And the man who stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, They are the ones Yahuwah has sent to go throughout the earth. And they answered the messenger of Yahuwah who stood among the myrtle trees and said, We have gone throughout the earth, and see all the earth is at peace and at rest. And the messenger of Yahuwah answered and said, O Yahuwah Zebaoth, how long will you have no compassion on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah against which you were enraged these 70 years? So I was looking at in verse 7 on the 24th day of the 11th month, and that day actually happens to be tomorrow on the calendar.
Zechariah what?
Zechariah 1:7. Which again, there's 17. So, on the 24th day of the 11th month, which is the new month Shabbat, which would be the 11th month in the Babylonian calendar, in the 2nd year of Darawish, which um, I figured out was 2025. So on Yahuwah's calendar, it is still 2025 until the day after the equinox when the first of the year begins. Then it will be 2026. So, so when I saw that it was tomorrow, I thought, wow, could there be something for that date tomorrow? And as I was reading into verse 12, um, it said the very last sentence, which is verse 12, and the messenger of Yahuwah answered and said, O Yahuwah Zebaoth, how long would you have no compassion on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah against which you were enraged these 70 years? Well, when was it that Israel, the land of Israel, became a state? It was around 47 or 48. And it's been longer than 70 years, obviously. But I think Father is now, this is like a final warning before everything happens. Because he says in verse 4, turn back now from your evil ways and your evil deeds. he's telling us right now, pay attention, pay attention. Do as I ask. He's asking
So
for, yeah. He's,
I just wanted to add this, Christina. So I looked up when was the Balfour Declaration signed.
uh-huh.
And it was signed in 1917, which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
Supposedly. So, um, and then some people say, so in 1947, the UK turned over Palestine to the UN. So in a way, and then so Resolution 181 of 1947 did that. So it went out of the hands of Great Britain in 47. So it's kind of interesting. And I did want to say, and we've talked about this a lot, how there's duality in scripture. And I think originally with Zechariah, he was talking about when they had been drugged to Babylon. And right, and Jeremiah knew they would be there 70 years before Yahuwah would let them come back and rebuild Jerusalem. But these same prophecies hold, maybe even more so for the end time, right?
Mhm.
So just wanted to throw that out. We're not saying that it wasn't valid for in the life of these prophets. It absolutely was. But Yah also uses these to prophesy for the fulfillment or the last version of all this. So just wanted to add that in there because I do think this is the final fulfillment with the second Exodus coming back to the land, like Christina was saying.
And also, when we look at um, verse 8, we see the horses, and it's talking about a man riding a red horse, and he was standing among the myrtle trees in the shade. And behind him were horses, red, sorrel, and white. I believe these horses, um, I believe the white one has already run, and we're about to see the red one. But also, I kind of want to, um, I do believe that the sun or these horses also have to do with the sun and sun. And and from my understanding is that if you guys have noticed that our sun is changing color, it used to be yellow and now it's white. And I do expect that the sun will turn red at a certain point during the tribulation, and then toward the end, it'll be black. So this is kind of what's rolling in my head as I'm reading these scriptures. Um, Aside from that, I don't have a whole lot more of that, but it's making me recall the horses in Revelation, which we see in chapter 6. Let's see. Then moving forward, reading 13. Well, let's just read the rest of that. And Yahuwah answered the messenger who talked to me good words, comforting words. And the messenger who spoke with me said to me, proclaim, saying, thus said Yahuwah Zebaoth, I have been jealous for Yerushalayim and for Zion with great jealousy. And I am very wroth with the nations who are at ease. For when I was a little wroth, they furthered their evil. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah, I shall return to Jerusalem with compassion. My house shall be built in it, declares Yahuwah Zebaoth, and a surveyor's line be stretched out over Jerusalem. Again proclaim, saying, thus saith Yahuwah Zebaoth, again my city shall overflow with goodness, and Yahuwah shall again comfort Zion, and shall again choose Jerusalem. And I lifted up my eyes and looked and saw four horns. And I said to the messenger who was speaking to me, "What are these?" And he said to me, "These are the horns that have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem." And Yahuwah showed me four craftsmen. And I said, "What are these coming to do?" He spoke, saying, "These are the horns that scattered Judah, so that no one lifted up his head. But these come to trouble them to throw down the horns of the nations that lifted up their horn against the land of Yehuda to scatter it." So as I'm reading this, Yahuwah is letting us know that he will be having the new temple rebuilt in the future. And this reminds me of Ezekiel 41, or actually Ezekiel 40, when he sends a messenger out and Ezekiel is delivered the plans for these for this temple. And he's also warning, hey, get ready because we're going to be going, we are going to be going through this tribulation to get on the other side. He has become jealous for Jerusalem. He wants he wants this um he wants to get through this, right? Um
Yeah, I look at it like he's saying it's time. It's
mhm.
time. I'm done with waiting. I am gonna return to Jerusalem. My house shall be built. The cities are gonna be, the folks are gonna return. The second Exodus is gonna turn. They're gonna live in prosperity and run Zion. It's been long enough. And then he goes into the key to me is he is angry with the nations, and it's time to destroy those who destroyed his people, the Yahudim and the Israelites in Jerusalem. And so the way I looked at these four horns, if you go back to the statue in Daniel, they're right there, the four kingdoms, Nebuchadnezzar, and I'll throw in Assyria with Babylon. And then you had the Persians, and then you had Greece, and then you had Rome. So those fallen angels over those people still exist to this day. And scripture plainly says the Israelites are in captivity or are held by every nation under the sun to this day. And he's sitting there saying, it's time. I'm going to start shaking the nations so they let my people go, right? And they're going to come back. Basically, he's saying it's on. It's on.
I think what's really interesting too is that when you look at verse 20, in my version it says, "And Yahuwah showed me four craftsmen."
Yeah.
Um, and to me, it makes sense because if these are the four spiritual horsemen, right, who have been ruling the world, they have been behind every deceit, every lie, every war, everything. It makes them a craftsman, but they're also a warrior, right? They're a warrior against Yahuwah and they're a warrior against the people.
So what's the Hebrew word for that? Do y'all
It's
know?
H 2796. Sorry, I should have given you the number.
What is that Hebrew word? I'm sorry, what word are we talking about?
In chapter 1, verse 20, I have the word craftsman,
Oh, craftsman.
and um, it's H 2796.
My version has it it calls it craft masons.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
interesting. That's that makes way more sense. Mine says carpenters.
Yeah, I like that. Mine says carpenter too, but I like Ray's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine says carpenter and mason.
That
So
Like,
Mason thing thrown in there,
yeah,
yeah,
an
that's a plus.
engraver of stones.
so
And
Oh, wow.
yeah, An
And what
artificer,
of stones, Mitzi? I missed that.
an engraver of stones, and
Oh, okay.
also an artisan of iron, brass, stone, and wood.
Wow.
Iron and smith and mason. Where have we heard the gods of iron, brass, stone, and wood, right? The false gods.
Yeah.
So I am sitting here like, should I say something or just save this for another time? I started sharing this earlier about I was doing like a deep dive on connections between Jezebel and Athaliah, the female sort of evil influence over Israel and, what has gone on over the years. And I found a connection of a confederacy between the Zidonians and Tyre. And interestingly, it discusses all of these things, how they are specifically Masons, like Solomon used Hiram. He was the king of Tyre for their masons and their carpenters. And, it was like they're craftsmen. That's what they are. So it's just interesting that we're going. There's a lot of other different connections. Um, but I kind of want to go over this a little more just because I feel like there's just so much to this. It's just kind of all going together. It's very interesting.
That's interesting. My verse has a note on that at the bottom of the page. It says the quartet, a group of four made up of the USA, the EU, the UN, and Russia, that their sole purpose is to divide Jerusalem and make a Palestinian state. And then it goes on and talks more about it here, but I won't read the rest of it.
I will say in verse 20, those craftsmen. So, but if you read in context of verse 21, it says, but the craftsmen are coming to terrify them, the nations, to cast out the horns of the nations that lifted up their horn against the land of Judah, to scatter it. So, in other words, the craftsmen are coming against the nations this
Well,
time,
so
not the Yahudim.
okay, when we were talking about the horsemen, this goes so I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with all these different connections. I agree with you, Mitzi. Like every one of these little gods, Yahusha is the like goes above and beyond. Like we're going to see that, the next 3.5 years living through the Great Tribulation is them and their influence and what they can do. It, and then Yah's going to come and the wrath is going to happen and they're going to see what an actual creator of the universe is going to be capable of. They're not anything. So Yahusha is constantly coming for them and like mocking them in a way because I'm just going to share this one little the Sidon. So the first use of Sidon is in Genesis 10:15. Canaan begot Sidon. It was his firstborn. If you look that up, it's basically like the fish. So it's what you think Poseidon. It's what he's like the fish god or the hunter. And Yahusha like mocks that when he tells his disciples that he's going to make them fishers of men, right? And then also, you don't think when you think of Poseidon, you think of like he's the god of the ocean. Well, he's actually the god of earthquakes and he's the god of like horses too. So when you were talking about the horsemen and all this, he just it's they're nothing compared to him.
Oh my goodness, you just joggled my mind, okay? Because that little G is in I Pet Goat,
Yeah,
right?
and they're
And we're gonna, yes,
he's an Olympian. And we just
yes.
had 3 days ago the Olympic ceremony, and then we just had the Super Bowl ceremony. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if something is coming. Like, that kind of makes sense. And so I would like to go over this more. I don't want to take over what we're studying right now, but there are so many connections of Tyre and the Zidonians I feel like they are,
Which is Freemasonry, y'all.
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
It's all connected. It's crazy. Well, can I just read
It's
you
the
this?
kingdom of Lucifer.
So this
Yeah,
is the
go
second
ahead.
temple, Ezra 3:7. They gave money unto the masons and the carpenters, and meat and drink and oil unto them of Zidon, who the Zidonians, and to them of Tyre, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon and the sea of Joppa, according to the grant that they had of Cyrus, king of Persia. But they were working together, these two, building Solomon's temple too. So I feel like I have a a theory about what happened there and how these two teamed up, but they lived in close proximity to each other. Like Tyre was right north of the Zidonians, and so it makes sense that they kind of would work together. Very interesting.
Well, it's
Another point you had made, Linda, I'll just throw it out real fast, is Zionist,
Yeah.
Zidon. So close. There's that counterfeit spin again.
So
yep.
I think ultimately that is what it is. It's Israel and the United States. That's those people. I mean, it's
And
that like go ahead.
I think that's why we see Neptune with Saturn and Venus,
Yeah, he's Neptune.
because he's representing that earthquake, right?
Hmm.
Boom. Yeah.
Poseidon is Neptune. Yep.
Yep.
And Poseidon
He's the
is Santa
Trident
Claus
boy.
too.
Oh, I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, he's really bad.
Is Odin and Poseidon the same guy?
Probably.
Probably.
And it's the god of the sea.
Oh yeah, because he had horses instead of, and they substituted reindeer.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I think Odin and Poseidon and Neptune are probably the same. You know how they rename them.
yeah.
And Santa and Satan have the same letters.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's
Mhm.
purely accidental, Debbie.
I know that. You're right.
Oh boy.
I was the queen of Christmas. So
Yeah.
I have nothing that I can say about
Oh,
anybody.
weren't we all?
Oh my gosh.
So Ray, is that clear when you read it that Yahweh is using the craftsmen to destroy the nations during the Great Tribulation?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what he, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty neat. So we were reading it, and to me, and then we can keep going with chapter 2, 3, and 4, and then Linda, if you want to show us the rest of what you have with the Tyre Zidonian.
Okay, yeah, I'll share what I got.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, this will go pretty quick. Chapter 2, I'll go ahead and I'll read that. And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and saw a man with a measuring line in his hand. And I said, where are you going? And he said to me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is its width and what is its length. And see, the messenger who was speaking to me was going out, and another messenger was coming out to meet him. And he said to him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem is to remain unwalled because of the many men and livestock in it. For I myself am to her, declares Yahuwah, a wall of fire all around, and for a steam I am in her midst. Oh, oh, and flee from the land of the north, declares Yahuwah. For I have scattered you like the four winds of the heavens, declares Yahuwah. O Sion, escape you who dwell with the daughter of Babel. For thus saith Yahuwah Zebaoth, for the sake of esteem, he sent me to the nations which plunder you. For he who touches you touches the apple of my eye. For look, I am waving my hand against them, and they shall become spoil for their servants. And you shall know that Yahuwah Zebaoth has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion. For look, I am coming, and shall dwell in your midst, declares Yahuwah. And many nations shall be joined to Yahuwah in that day, and they shall become my people, and I shall dwell in your midst. And you shall know that Yahuwah Zebawоth has sent me to you. And Yahuwah shall inherit Yehuda, his portion in the placed apart land, and he shall again choose Jerusalem. Hush, all flesh, before Yahuwah, for he has roused himself out of his placed apart dwelling. So this, again, this seems to connect with what Linda has just shared. Again, uh, Yahuwah he's preparing us. He's saying, hey, but it's going. And when I saw in verse 8, where he who touches you touches the apple of my eye, this is where I see Linda's study connecting here because the ones who are touching and what the apple of Yahuwah's eye, that's the firmament. They are going to try to break through the firmament. That's what it reads to me, that they are the ones trying to touch Yahuwah's eye, right? And they've done it. They've done it through their weapons. And these are the same who have been touching Yah's people in a very negative way. So,
Christina, not to interrupt you, but
yeah.
my verse says the pupil
Mm-hmm. Yep.
of his eye.
That is the
Where
that
heavenly
is
Zion is, the
yeah.
center.
Yep. That's where they're going to touch it. They're going to try to break it open.
And what's interesting, if you go back to verse 4, it talks about they will inhabit Jerusalem without walls. And that ties into Ezekiel, right? That tells you the millennial reign versus now. There's no walls, and because nobody's fearing anything in the millennial reign. So this is more prophecy. So it tells us the time we're in. And then verse 5 and 6 are describing the second Exodus, right? Because Yahusha is saying, I will be that wall of fire all around her, and I will be the glory in her midst. So he'll be their protection even during Satan's little season, right? And then verse 6, second Exodus, up, like get up, flee from the land of the north, flee from where you have been held, says Yah, for I have spread you abroad like the four winds of heaven, right? When he punished them, he sent them out to every nation under the sun. But he said, now get up, Zion, escape, you who dwell with the daughter of Babylon. So it's time to leave, right? That's what he's saying. And he has sent me. So Yahuwah has sent Yahusha to the nations which plunder you. And then what Christina just explained about they've been trying to bust through the firmament for years. So anyway, and he's like, okay, it's time. Kind of like, and we were talking about this before, the Tower of Babylon. They probably were close to being busting through the firmament then. And he's like, no, it's not time yet.
You know what's
Right.
what's kind of funny is he knows that they've been trying to break through. And I'm thinking, yeah, I was like, all right, I'm going to help you and throw Hasatan through the firmament so then they think that they did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Have y'all seen these folks? Well, this one particular guy, he says he has a piece of the firmament. It looks like lapis lazuli. It's a lot oxygen, and I wish I could remember the other things. And there's one mineral or substance that they don't know about, and it's hard as molten glass. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is so blue. It is so gorgeous. So I don't know if they knocked it off when they did all those what was that Operation Fishbowl when they
Yeah.
were shooting it back in the 60s or something, 50s maybe.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was the early 60s. Yep. Yeah, it was Dominic, Operation Dominic, and Operation Fishbowl. And if you looked at it, it was the fishbowl of Elohim. Yeah,
Yeah, a father. And
right,
also, high jump was the one getting on the edges of the Antarctica.
right.
There's been
Yeah.
a lot.
They've been stinkers, but he just sits back and laughs at them.
And you know that they listed that firmament in the encyclopedias that were before, I want to say before
Mm-hmm.
1957,
Yep.
Yep.
and then they changed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it even said how high it
It
was at a
did. It said
certain
that their
latitude.
planes had flown up and figured that out.
Yep.
Crazy. But the truth's being revealed now. There's
Mhm.
no turning back.
Yep. With the people that's willing to hear it though, right?
Yep.
And then, we've heard some people say they didn't think any people from the nations make it into the millennium. And then here, verse 11, of course, proves that wrong. It says, many nations shall be joined to Yahuwah in that day, and they shall become my people. And I will dwell in your midst. Then you shall know that Yahweh has sent me, Yahusha, to you. So, you know,
Yep.
so there's more proof of the innumerable multitude that's coming with them.
When we get to verse
11.
when we get to verse 13, it says, "Hush, all flesh before Yahuwah, for he has roused himself out of his place to part dwelling." That reminds me of Revelation 8:1, when there's a silence in the space of half an hour, just before everything starts rolling, right? So if we go to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1, and we also find um, this same word, hush, in Zephaniah 1:7. So let's go to Revelation 8:1. And it says, "And when he opened the seventh seal, there came to be silence in heaven for about a half an hour." Verse 2, "And I saw seven messengers who stand before Elohim, and to them were given seven trumpets." So right there, it's gearing up. It's gearing up um, for the final showdown, if you will. And then if
So, oh, go ahead.
when we read in Zephaniah, I hope I got that right.
You did.
You do.
Oh, 1:7. I mixed the word or the numbers. It says, "Hush in the presence of the Master Yahuwah, for the day of Yahuwah is near, for Yahuwah has prepared a slaughter. He has set apart his invited ones."
And
So,
there's the 1-7 again.
yeah, there's that 1:7, but also this is also the bride. He has set apart his bride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. And another one to add to that, guys, if you're taking notes, is Isaiah 34:8, because it says, it is the day of Yahuwah's vengeance, the year of recompense for the cause of Zion. So that is that Jubilee year that starts on the Day of Atonement 2028 and then finishes on the grand finale, so to speak, on the Day of Atonement 2029 when his foot hits and then he slaughters all the wicked still living at that point.
Yeah.
I also have Habakkuk 2:20. Um, but Yahuwah is in his set apart temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him.
Nice.
Just wanted
And
to go ahead.
and then chapter 3 goes into um, the bride. It
Okay,
says,
before we
yep,
go there, one more tie. I think
okay,
this is beautiful too. Verse 12. And Yah will take possession of Judah, the Yahudim, Yahusha, as his inheritance in the Holy Land, and will again choose Jerusalem. Now go back to Deuteronomy 32, verse 9. Remember Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. In the Septuagint, it is correct. It said, when the Most High Yahweh divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the of El, sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Elohim, the sons of Elohim, the angels, not Israel. And then here's the kicker, verse 9, for Yahusha's portion is his people. Jacob is the place of his inheritance. So his son was given Israel, right? And that's exactly what he's saying in verse 12 here is Yahusha's getting his inheritance back.
So I'm sorry, Mitzi, are you talking about in Zechariah 2:12? Or where are you?
Yes,
Okay,
Zechariah 2:12.
thank you.
You can reference Deuteronomy 32, 8 and 9, but make sure you use the Septuagint version.
yeah,
So he divided all the nations to the angels, but Israel was his son's portion, was given. So Yahusha was the Elohim of Israel, and that's his inheritance for then, but then once he came and died and gave his life for all mankind, now what does he inherit? The whole earth, all nations, right? But he's saying, I'm coming to take my inheritance back,
So
my firstborn.
this is reminding me, and I always thought it would relate to his people, where it says to, to the sorry, I got to think of which parable this is. The talents, is it the talents where he's like going to give to whoever takes care of it, he's going to give him more. Well, that's Yahusha.
right,
She
10
gets
times
everything.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Zechariah chapter 3. And he showed me Yehoshua the high priest standing before the messenger of Yahuwah, and Hasatan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. And Yahuwah said to Hasatan, Yahuwah rebuke you, Hasatan. Yahuwah, who has chosen Jerusalem, rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire? And Yehoshua was dressed in filthy garments and was standing before the messenger. And he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, see, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robes on you. And I said, let them put a clean turban on his head. Then they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him. And the messenger of Yahuwah stood by. And the messenger of Yahuwah witnessed to Yehoshua, saying, thus said Yahuwah Zebaoth, if you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall also rule my house, and also guard my courts. And I shall give you access among these standing here. Now listen, Yehoshua the high priest, you and your companions who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch. See the stone which I have put before Yehoshua. On one stone there are 7 eyes. See, I am engraving its inscription, declares Yahuwah Zebaoth. And I shall remove the guilt of that land in one day. In that day, declares Yahuwah Zebaoth, you shall invite one another under the vine and under the fig tree. So this reminded me of what Linda had noticed um, when she saw the lady in I Pet Goat 2, that that she had been represented as an ugly thing in her uncleanness, right? You see the hand coming out of the sky, and he's shining his light on her. Well, to me, when I'm reading Zephaniah 3, we see Yahuwah's light shining on his bride, right? Hasatan is standing there and he's witnessing Yah taking away the iniquity of Yehoshua, who is a representation of the bride.
Mhm.
And so Yahuwah um, cleanses her and introduces her to Yahusha, which we see in verse, I think it's verse 8. Yes. Now listen, Yehoshua, the high priest, who represents the bride, you and your companions who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. This is the bride. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch, and the branch is Yahusha. So the bride is being brought before Yahusha, right?
Yep.
So, and so this is the other image that I want to show you guys tomorrow. So I loved how Linda put it together. It was really beautiful. And even Mitzi had seen it when I was reading this. So it was all put together right there. Okay. Um, I guess now we go to,
Hang on, one more
yeah.
thing to add in verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it says Yah of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. So there he's pointing to that last day, the Battle of Armageddon, when Yahusha's foot hits, and then he cleanses the land, right? He slaughters all the wicked. And then Satan is put away, so that cleanses the land.
You know what's really interesting too is that number 9 is Yom Kippur.
Yep, the evening part when he does
The
Right.
it.
evening part.
Yep.
And then in verse 10, yes.
Yes. Wow, that's beautiful. Oh man.
So I got to put that in there.
Yeah, I've
Yep.
definitely.
That's Yom Kippur. It's just awesome when,
Daytime, yeah. And the daytime, that's when he starts bringing everybody in to prepare for Sukkot, right? And the great
yeah.
feast.
Wow. All right, chapter 4. And the messenger who was speaking to me came back and woke me up as a man is awakened from sleep. And he said to me, what do you see? So I said, I have looked and see a lampstand all of gold with a bowl on top of it, and on the stand 7 lamps with 7 spouts at the 7 lamps. And 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left. Then I responded and spoke to the messenger who was speaking to me, saying, what are these, my master? And the messenger who was speaking to me answered and said to me, do you not know what these are? And I said, no, my master. And he answered and said to me, this is the word of Yahuwah to Zerubbabel. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, said Yahuwah Zebaoth. Who are you, great mountain, before Zerubbabel? A plain. And ye shall bring forth the capstone with shouts of favor, favor to it. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house, and his hands shall complete it. And you shall know that Yahuwah Zebaoth has sent me to you. For who has despised the day of small beginnings? They shall rejoice when they see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. These 7 are the eyes of Yahuwah, which diligently search throughout all the earth. Then I responded and said to him, what are these 2 olive trees, one at the right of the lampstand and the other at its left? And I responded a second time and said to him, what are these two olive branches which empty golden oil from themselves by means of the two gold pipes? And he answered me and said, do you not know what these are? And I said, no, my master. And he said, these are the two anointed ones who stand by the master of all the earth. And so what I saw here are the two witnesses who will be going out to witness against the beast, but also witness to the rest of the nations um, who haven't repented yet. And so it gives those people a chance, right, to choose between these witnesses or the beast. Um,
And what's interesting is Zechariah 4:14 is a direct quote in Revelation 11:4. So Revelation 11:4 says, these are that's talking about those two witnesses. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands standing before Yahweh of the earth.
and it's also connected to Matthew chapter 20, verses 20 through 24. So let's read that.
Did you say Matthew 20, 20 to 24?
Yep, Matthew 20, 20 through 24. And it says here, then the mother of the sons of Zabdi came to him with her sons, bowing down and making a request of him. And he said to her, what do you wish? And she said to him, command that these two sons of mine might sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left in your reign. But Yahusha answered, said, you do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I am able to drink, and to be immersed with the immersion that I am immersed with? They said to him, we are able. And he said to them, you shall indeed drink my cup, and you shall be immersed with the immersion that I am immersed with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father. And when the 10 heard it, they were displeased at the two brothers. I guess I didn't need to add that last one in there. But but yeah, they knew about Zechariah chapter 4, verse 14. They knew about those two witnesses. But
Yeah.
those two witnesses Father has reserved, and he definitely knows who they are. So, and I'm sure we'll figure that out when they arrive.
And that's James and John's mother, correct?
Yes. Yes. Hmm. And that was the extent of my study there. But I will say chapter 5, that is a prophecy that came true uh, in 2025. Um, that was when, yeah, that was when that rocket went up, right?
So I remember the connection being the shepherd, like it's the different spelling of,
And that, yeah, it was the Blue Origin ritual, and that happened on our Shabbat on the
Mhm.
25th day of the first month.
Yes. And
With
I
those
was thinking,
six ladies, the little coven ladies, right?
what'd you say, Debbie?
There were six ladies in there. They were coven ladies, I believe. Wasn't
Yeah.
that right?
Lady men,
What did you call?
lady men.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that it's just interesting. We go from 414, these two anointed ones that are actually going to be shepherding his people into this sort of false, um, what's the word? What's the word, guys? Satan always has his,
Counterfeit.
that's the
Counterfeit.
word, the counterfeit.
Yeah, 414, 144.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, isn't that something? Okay.
All right.
While we're in Zechariah real fast, so I know you guys don't, but there's still a lot of people that doubt a temple in the millennium. Um, so if you keep going, chapter 6, verse 15. So, and I think this is pretty interesting, but it says, even those from afar shall come and build the temple of Yahusha. So it's the whole world is gonna, all the nations are gonna help and build this glorious temple. And that's proof right there in verse 15. Sorry. Yeah, verse 15. Then you shall know that Yahweh of hosts has sent me, Yahusha, to you. And this shall come to pass if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh. So you won't be there to help build it if you don't obey me. So he always throws that in there. Keep my commandments, right?
Yep.
Where were you, Mitzi? I know you said 15, but I missed the first part.
I'm sorry, chapter 6, verse 15. I was just throwing that
Oh,
in there about that all nations would help build this temple.
gotcha. Thank you.
And it goes with Ezekiel chapter 40.
Yeah. So anyway, Christina found that new date, 11/24, which is tomorrow. So we had to hurry up and tell you today. Oh, and another thing. So we don't know, of course. There's been rumors about the U.S. attacking Iran, and then we had the two occultic shows, and then Linda has posted where the priest that just came in service for this week is
Hetzir.
swine. Hetzir meaning swine. So interesting. Speaking of Hetzir, is that Calvin or Hobbes?
This is
Calvin.
Hobbes.
Hobbes. He's
Did you guys know what they were trying to tell us in Spanish?
Huh?
Are you talking about the
Super Bowl.
halftime?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
hadn't
couldn't
seen it
figure it
yet.
out. Do you
I
know?
No, I don't. I hadn't even watched the videos that break it down, but I'm sure they're feverishly working on them. So
Yeah.
we'll know what it means soon.
Okay.
So
I
what
couldn't. It was in Spanish, the whole thing. There was no English spoken.
for what video?
This was for
The Super
Super Bowl
Bowl
halftime.
halftime.
Oh, well, I can tell you guys right now, that the colors that they're displaying in the Super Bowl that matches the emergency broadcasting system,
Right.
it matches the aurora borealis, the colors of the
Ooh.
rainbow. So, what they're transmitting is there's going to be an emergency up in the north, and these colors are reflecting it, right? They're reflecting what's in iPet Goat 2. Those colors also are reflected in that video, which shows all this stuff going on in the north.
Uh,
Very interesting.
yes. I have a comment and it's kind of related, but not exactly. Um, I heard this man talk about when they used to transfer property in the Old Testament, and I bet you know about this, Christina, but that they would be given two deeds, one that they held in their family because when the Jubilee came, it would go back to the rightful owner. Yes? Is that
I
right?
don't know.
Oh,
I
you don't
don't
know?
know. Mm-mm.
But this,
That sounds like what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
really? Well,
Hmm.
the
Jeremiah's
interesting,
purchase.
And the priests hang on to the other copy.
so that when the Jubilee comes in, the rightful family will get the property back. Well, this man was sharing that there's some place in the Old Testament, and I'm sorry I don't have the designation, but that when Father created the earth, it was his. He created the earth and it was his. And he gave the deed, so to speak, to the earth to Adam and Eve. And when they sinned, they when they were cast out, the deed went to Satan. And so when Satan took Yahushua to a high place and showed him all the kingdoms of the world at one moment, he said that had been delivered to him, that he would give them all those to him if he would bow down and worship him. And of course, he didn't. But in Revelation 5, when those scrolls are opened, could it be that one of those scrolls is the deed to the earth that Father gives to Yahushua because Satan has lost it because of everything, and because he paid that price, and he is the kinsman redeemer for the earth. Could that be one of those seals?
That makes perfect
Yeah,
sense to me
totally.
Yeah.
because he did when he after the 40 days that he fasted and Satan came to him, that was the battle when he won back kingship. So you're absolutely right, but he went back to the right hand of the Father until the time came for him to return to claim his rightful ownership of the throne of the earth. That makes perfect sense to
Yeah,
me.
because when you read this in Revelation 5, it says, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" Of course, there's more. And no man in heaven nor earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept, John wept, because no man was found worthy to open and to read that book, neither to look thereon. And the one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the lion of the tribe of Judah, the kinsman redeemer, the root of Jesse, David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose seven seals thereof. So I think he's going to get back the deed.
That's
I just thought
beautiful.
it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's beautiful.
Well, and of course he'll never get the deed again.
Of
No,
course.
thank
You know
goodness.
what's
Because
interesting is the squatters. That's the synagogue of Satan are the physical squatters, and Satan is the spiritual squatter, right?
yeah,
Right.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
They're all going to get run out of town.
Yahoo!
Repent or die.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, that's a great point, Debbie. That's beautiful. And I think it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because he didn't contradict him when he said that they were all had been delivered to him. And
No, no,
oh,
he did.
he did not.
He had rule of the earth at that point.
He sure did.
Hmm.
On a chain, but yeah. Yeah.
Right, right. Father allowed it for his purposes, absolutely.
Right. Right.
But
I do.
Father's got this all figured out. We just need to understand. He's got it all figured out. It's so beautiful, like you said. And I
I
didn't know about the halftime show being the Aurora Borealis. I saw the emergency broadcast system.
no, 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 no.
No?
The now I have not seen any kind of breakdown of
Oh,
I've never I just put it together because I realized those are the colors of the aurora borealis. They're the same colors. iPet Goat is also transmitting the same color palette, right?
exactly. No,
So,
I'm in agree with you for sure.
yeah,
It looks really the colors are all the same.
right. And nobody else that I know of has picked up on that yet.
No, no, that was great. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, my memory isn't the best. I've been fighting a chronic illness that affects my brain terribly. However, long time ago, I was listening to Matthew Nolan, and I, excuse me, I'm live, and you're being very rude. Oh, you're live? Yes. Oh, you're live? I thought you were talking to someone. Sorry about my teenage daughter. Anyways, I was listening to Matthew Nolan, and I'm pretty sure that he had made some statements about scripture describing us as the same stones that the temple is built of, and kind of put like this picture together of like us physically being the stones that like are within the temple, like that build and make up the temple. And I was just wondering what your guys' understanding are, or what your thoughts were on that.
I don't think we're well, so we are the temple, right? Because he indwells us. But I don't think we're literally, I've heard some folks say that the bride will literally be the New Jerusalem, right? No. It's a spiritual symbol that that's his bride because that will be our home forever with him. So and hey, I will open it up, but that's my opinion. That's not literally us. It's symbolically pointing to that he no longer indwells the temple. There is no adequate temple on earth, but he indwells his saints now.
I agree with you, Mitzi, and it's just like stars are symbolic of
Of
people,
people.
Angels.
but they're not literally, they're just symbolically representations.
Thank you for your thoughts. I was just wondering.
And there's a lot of folks, there's sermons on that and papers when they built Solomon's temple, they would quarry those huge stones wherever they quarried them, not in Jerusalem. So they would quarry them there and get them to the exact size and bring them. And so no loud machinery or whatever. I think it represents the saints are molded wherever she is, right? Scripture says, it's in John, somewhere in John, when Yahushua's praying to the Father before he suffers. He says, I don't pray you take them out of the world, speaking of the saints, of those who believed in him then and who would believe in him, right, before he returns, but keep them from the wicked one. So we are to be lights and salt to the earth, and we're not supposed to hide ourselves away and live like monks or what are the female version of the Catholics, the
None.
nuns sequestered away. He said, no, be among the world, and there he would knock off our rough edges and mold us in to the future bride of Yahusha, right? So symbolically, those huge stones that built the temple were quarried and chiseled down and made to the right size. And then they were all brought to Jerusalem and quietly, and it fit together perfectly. So, and I think that's more, if you read about it, it's pretty beautiful if you think what that represents spiritually and symbolically of his bride, that we come from all nations, all tribes, all tongues, all ages, and he works on us individually for a specific point or a specific position in that temple, right? He's molding us all individually for our specific office. And then he brings all his saints together at once in that first resurrection to be his son's holy bride. So I thought that was pretty spot on also.